One time for your mind, two time for your soul. It's your man Shizzle on Shizzle with a Whistle Radio, and this one is just a representative because I'm not drinking this morning. Alright? But I want to talk about the Ma'Khia Bryant case for a few seconds, right? And they're going to say that they're not going to bring any charges on him at all. And I can understand underneath the premise of the law why they wouldn't. And they wouldn't because to come with a conviction of murder would take too much. They couldn't prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. Okay, but if I was the prosecutor in that state, I would bring him up on charges, and I would tell you in the end of my fucking little editorial what those charges would be. All right? There's a lot of things that his lawyer can argue in his defense. We always ask, well, why couldn't he just shoot her in the leg? Why couldn't he just... Why? It's because he's trained to shoot center mass. And based on the premise of his weapon is drawn, he is within imminent danger. Okay, so that calls for that type of response when you're in imminent danger. But at the same instance, as they're training these folks to recognize imminent danger, they should also train them to analyze a situation and come with the appropriate use of force necessary to maintain. All right? And if the situation could be contained by a less lethal force, parking 10 feet away from a scene can give you ample time for a properly trained officer to assess the situation, yet approach every situation as if it was bad, but conduct himself in an orderly fashion. Okay? Now imagine if the protocol was to enter every situation with less lethal options, rubber bullets, beanbags, stun gun, readily to deploy at any moment's notice. And y'all may say, Shan, you giving up secrets to the police. No, I'm trying to save your bitch ass life right now. That's what I'm trying to do. So, I'm not telling what to do, but I'll tell you what. Police, you don't have to go into every situation, even with the thuggiest of thug motherfucker. You don't have to go into every situation with lethal force. Let me tell you, them motherfuckers is not scared of your guns. But you release motherfucking 5 of them dogs on their ass, motherfucker. They ain't scared of you with your gun. But you release 5 of them motherfucking dogs on his ass. Okay? And now, them motherfuckers will come out running. Let me get to my notes here. Alright, you're right. I'm right about that one. I'm where I'm supposed to be in my notes, because I tell you I want to read it from my notes because I want to stay dead on. Alright? So now, why would that motherfucker give up? Why would he surrender? Because he know he only got 2 motherfucking bullets left. And you got 5 motherfucking dogs, and his dumb ass can't shoot any motherfucking way. So his chances of missing those dogs and getting bit up, let's say he does hit 2 of them. His mind's still thinking them other 3 dogs gonna fuck me up. So you don't have to pull out your gun, just come with 5 or 6 motherfucking dogs. And that nigga gonna give up, cause he think they gonna tear his motherfucking ass up. A dog will make the thuggiest motherfucker surrender quick. Alright? Now, let's get to this next side. In this editorial, I've given 2 examples of how an officer could and should handle suspects that they consider an imminent threat, yet approach each and every incident, particularly domestic incidents, with heightened precaution. Which brings me back to Ma'Khia Bryant, right? The Bryant case, although we may all have our feelings, but the law is the law, and the conviction of this officer breaks down to 2 words: mitigating circumstance, which basically boils down to what the motherfucker was thinking at the time of the incident, that he thought he may have had danger against him, or I thought he had a gun, I thought I seen this. Amadou Diallo, okay? I thought he had a gun. Mitigating circumstances will always be the two words that get these police officers off the fucking charge, okay? But now here you are, a fucking felon, in imminent danger in your own home. You don't supposed to have a weapon, but just in the circumstance that someone did come in your home and there was a weapon by you, the words mitigating circumstances would not fucking come into your trial, period. Those mitigating circumstance words will turn to the preponderance of evidence. The preponderance of evidence shows that he's a felon and he shouldn't be in any vicinity of a weapon. So the mitigating circumstances that you killed the motherfucker that came to kill you does not work for your ass. The preponderance of the evidence is gonna fuck you, okay? Some of y'all might not get this shit, but don't panic, don't worry about it. Now back to Ma'Ika Bryant again. If I was this district state attorney, knowing due to the mitigating circumstances, because the mitigating circumstances that he would fucking go on in the premise if I was his defense attorney, is the fact that she was on the phone with 911. She escalated the situation by going outside, and the officer's conduct was not brought about by him. Wrong. Yes, it was. You could never get a murder charge for this, but what we need to do in any degree is hold these cops up to liability to some degree. Now, if I was the prosecutor, I would charge him with neglect and depraved indifference. It's much easier. He'll get a lighter sentence and all of that. He won't go to jail for 30 years, but he'll learn to account for his actions. Now, in this case, the cop's actions were that of his own. Let's take it back to the 911 call, right? The 911 call, the operator, we can clearly hear throughout the whole 911 call. The operator asks her, are there any weapons? Are there any weapons? Are there any weapons? All she kept saying was, get here quick, get here quick. So now, how I wouldn't put the dispatcher on the same charge as him. Now, if the dispatcher put out false information, because we don't know what went on between the dispatcher and the fucking police, because they get their computer and they type that shit through to the car. So we don't actually know what the dispatcher said. Now, if the dispatcher put out a false information charge saying that there was weapons involved, when the young woman never said once there was weapons involved, so that would eradicate him from being charged. But now let's get to the officer. The officer heard domestic. He didn't hear gun. He didn't hear none of that weapon, none of that shit, right? But he showed up on scene. He was there long enough. If you look at the video, he was on scene before he shot, that he knew there were no guns, that his fucking taser should have been deployed already. Now, why would I fucking get him on neglect and depraved indifference? Let me tell you why I would do that. Now, let me get to my number one. Where's the number one at? All right, number one. The call didn't go out as shot fired. The dispatch asked several fucking times were there any weapons, and she never gave the answer. So that means that the cop showed up on scene using his own judgment. And since he was there already, he already should have known to have out his taser weapon. Now, here's why I would have got him for neglect and depraved indifference. Because you being there on the scene, if your taser was already drawn, all right, you're liable because you neglected to assess the situation properly as a trained law enforcement. So your neglect right there. Now, as far as shooting this young woman, if your taser was out already, you could have shot her 7 seconds quicker. We know that a fucking taser will drop a fucking 250-pound man. Bam! And then I would take it to science. I would use the time and distance. I would use the velocity and the travel rate of the motherfucking shit that comes out the stun gun and show and prove that you being on the scene had enough time to motherfucking make that decision to shoot her with a taser 7 seconds before you had to wait for that imminent danger to show up to that other woman. Just because of the way Maika was waving the knife, that was just cause, and nobody in the hood would have gave a fucking fuck about you shooting her with the taser. She was getting ready to kill one of our own, so we wasn't gonna fucking be mad. Shoot her with the fucking taser. Next thing gonna happen, she would have been alive today to serve that motherfucking assault with a deadly weapon charge, because that's what she would have got because the body cam showed it. Okay? The body cam showed it. Okay, so this is where I would give you depraved indifference, because you committed a crime that you usually wouldn't be accountable for. Depraved indifference means that you should get the same amount of time for killing her that somebody that intentionally fucking killed her. You should get the same charge. Or you can't get the same murder charge, but like I said, it would be hard to get him on a murder charge. But if I was the district attorney in that Providence, I would damn sure go ahead and get him for neglect and depraved indifference. Thank you very much. It's your man Shizzle with a Whistle, one time representing my own clothing line, Queensbridge Finest. Y'all already know, you can find it in my bio. Let's get to it and let's stop all this bullshit. Matter of fact, I didn't get to the main point. We cannot blame this motherfucking officer for some shit that could have been quelled by the neighborhood already. And you should all feel ashamed of yourself, because everybody that was watching this incident are just as culpable for her death as this fucking police officer. Because instead of anyone trying to defuse the situation, and you motherfuckers are so savage that I hear somebody in the back, oh, my grandmother, you motherfuckers will do shit to somebody's grandmother? You're fucking savages. Okay? But you could have stopped this. But instead of anyone trying to quell that situation, everybody was pulling out their motherfucking phone, trying to motherfucking be the first to go viral with this shit. So all of you motherfuckers that was there, shame on you, fuck you, and you're just as culpable as that fucking police. Now, this is why we have to start policing our own neighborhood, because if y'all would have quelled that motherfucking situation before the police had to fucking come around, that little girl will still be alive today. Thank you very much. It's your man Shizzle, one time with a whistle. One time for your mind, two time for your soul, none standing between you and success but air and opportunity. Go get that motherfucking Queensbridge Finest shirt, y'all. Link is in the bio. Appreciate y'all.